Hello class, Bryce Parks here. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the Revolve command. So at this point, you should be familiarized with 2D drawing. So you can simply take and select lines. We're going to be in the 3D modeling tab here, but I can simply click on and I can, let's say I draw this right here, this triangle. The Revolve command allows you to be able to take a 2D flat pattern and to be able to spin it around an axis so that you create it into a 3D shape. So I have my 2D objects drawn here, just this triangle. I'm going to go to solid and I'm going to go now to the Revolve. So I'm going to show you a couple different things here. When you go to revolve this, first of all, if you leave these lines individual entities and you do not join them together, when you go to revolve them, let me show you two of these here. So if you select your lines and hit enter, it says where's your axis point. So let's say the axis point is going to be this line here. When you go to draw these, so let me type in 180, it leaves it as a shell. So this surface here, if I were to change it to let's say conceptual, okay, it's actually a hollowed out shell or surface edge. Okay, so whenever you're doing the 3D design, if you're wanting to 3D print these objects as part of your 3D solids modeling, instead of creating them as a shell or a surface, what you need to do is you need to create them as a solid piece. So what you want to do, let me go ahead and undo all this, and I'm going to back up to my 3 lines. So each one of these lines here, as you can see, are 3 individual lines. At this point, what you want to do is you first want to join them together. So I'm going to type in join and hit enter, and it says, what do you want to join together? So now I'm going to select all 3 of these lines, and I'm going to hit enter. When you do that, it joins them into a polyline. Okay, so the polyline, by the way, you can use the polyline command right here to do the same, but if you're used to using regular lines, you can use those as well and just simply join them together, and this is an easy way to do that. So now when you join them by typing in join, now when you go back to your solid tab and you go to revolve, if I were to select this item, notice I click one and it highlights all 3. That tells me they're joined as well. Now I'm going to specify an axis point around here. So let me type in the same 180 degrees. And now if I go back in to conceptual, you can see now it is a solid object. If and when you get into 3D printing, it will now print out as a solid object for you. Okay, so that is one way in which you will use the revolve command, is simply taking a 2D pattern and joining that 2D pattern together and then revolving it into a 3D object. So I undid that back to my joined triangle here. If I were to revolve this in, by the way, when you click revolve, it says select your objects. Here, let me show you real quickly. I click revolve. It says, what do you want to revolve? So now I'm going to select my objects. So I select my object that I want to revolve and I hit enter. After I hit enter, it says specify the axis point. So this is the axis around which you want to revolve the shape. So in this case, I want to revolve the shape around this line here. So I'm going to snap one endpoint to the other endpoint. Okay. If I were to type in 360 degrees, it makes a 360 degree shape. In this case, it looks like some sort of cone or maybe top application. All right, like a little play toy top. In this case, it's made it solid because those lines were joined together. And what it does is it takes that profile and of that triangle and just simply creates a solid around that axis. If I do the same shape and do a different axis, let me undo this and show you what that looks like. So going back, undoing everything, I'm back to this original shape that we're looking at. Let's say now I want to set my axis point over here somewhere. So I'm going to draw a straight line. And just so you can see how this goes, let me rotate this just a little bit so you can see it kind of off axis here, okay? So now I have my same shape, and I'm going to use the revolve command the same way, but instead of selecting this piece as the axis, I'm going to offset my axis and show you what happens. So select my revolve command, select my object and hit enter. It says specify the axis. I'm going to select the axis from here to here. And now I'm going to type in again 360 degrees. Go back in, and now if you look and see that line right there in the middle, right there, is my axis point. So it revolved it around that line 360 degrees. What it did was it took that triangular shape, and notice that on that line, when it was vertical, the top portion was rotated closer than the bottom portion. So the top portion, if I were to rotate it down, the bottom portion here has a larger hole. If I were to spin it around, the top portion has the smaller hole. And that was because my original triangle, the top of it was closer to the axis. So that's what the revolve command does. It allows you to be able to rotate things around and create these 3D solids using that command.